From Acres USA, you are listening to the Acres USA podcast, a conversational podcast where we'll explore sustainable farming, regenerative practices, and the latest innovations in eco-agriculture with some of your favorite farmers and ranchers. I'm your host, Taylor Henry, the owner and CEO of Acres USA. Welcome to the Acres USA podcast. All right, I'm joined with Dylan Vaca. Dylan works with regenerative agriculture and is trying to enhance soil health, water conservation, and carbon sequestration through his work with Grown Climate Smart. They help farmers implement innovative science-backed solutions to build resilient agriculture systems that are both profitable and environmentally sustainable. By combining cutting-edge research with practical on-farm strategies, Dylan is shaping the future of regenerative agriculture and empowering farmers to thrive in a changing climate. So with that, welcome, Dylan. Thanks for joining us today on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to, talk with you about what we're doing and how we can all, work together to put, sustainable and regenerative agriculture forward.
Yeah. So I think anytime we're talking about grants and forking out some payments to farmers, there's so many of them. People have a hard time sifting through all of the applications and different different hoops they have to jump through. So you want to give kind of an overview of what the Grown Climate Smart is and what that program represents and kind of what your guys' goal is with it?
Yeah, definitely. So Grown Climate Smart is, kind of the branded name and what the DeLong company is ultimately calling our Climate Smart commodity program. Essentially, where all this stems from and originates from is the USDA came out with a grant opportunity about probably a little over 2 years ago, maybe close to 3 years now, called the Partnerships for Climate Smart Commodities grant. And essentially it's all focused on climate smart agriculture, regenerative agriculture, and like you mentioned earlier, reducing carbon emissions. And really, close to a little over 2 years ago, the DeLong company wrote up a grant proposal and ultimately won a $40 million 5-year grant award through that USDA Climate Smart Commodities, grant. And now we're calling it in-house and branding it and talking to growers and the different consumer brands is Grown Climate Smart. So essentially on the farmer side, Grown Climate Smart has per acre incentives to pay farmers for cover crops, for reduced tillage, no-till, nutrient management plans, and even windbreaks. So there's really 4 to 5 practices that we're able to incentivize and, give an added $5 an acre bonus for, specialty grain or food grade or USDA organics. So, there's a lot of opportunities for growers to take advantage of our program and see those incentives.
What's some of your background and what role do you play in this?
Yes. So, on our team, we have really 3 people. And my specific role is the brand and marketing manager for our program. So, anything marketing related, anything that has to do with the website or marketing our program to, ultimately growers out there that are doing these practices, but also to companies, like CPG companies and at the end of the day, consumers to recognize climate smart agriculture and the products that ultimately all of this grain and ingredients end up in. So my role really is focused on the marketing side and, working with our partners, creating new partnerships, and really making sure that our program gets out there and is visible for farmers and consumers and businesses alike.
Awesome. What is you want to give a little bit of overview of what the DeLong company is and what you guys work on?
Yes. Yeah, the DeLong company, it's a full service agribusiness. Essentially, it's we're based in Clinton, Wisconsin, right on the state line of Wisconsin and Illinois, about 40 minutes south of Madison. Again, we're a full service agribusiness and primarily a grain aggregator and an exporter. But we do have, in-house agronomy team. We do have, grain merchandisers. So we have a lot of resources at the DeLong company to, make this program successful and push this forward. But I think that's ultimately a really good point to make when thinking about why our program has been successful. Because we do have the resources and the people in-house to, talk about nature management plans, to talk about cover crop seed, to talk about grain markets. So yeah, the DeLong company itself, I mean, I think we're up to 38 or 39 locations. Primarily our locations are, southern Wisconsin, northern Illinois, but we have a handful of locations out in New York. Yeah, a couple of locations out in Michigan and California, Nebraska, Kansas, Ohio. So we're a little bit spread out, and again, primarily a business as an exporter. The DeLong company is actually the largest exporter in the country of agricultural commodities and animal feed. But that's not to say that we're not doing a lot domestically and looking at different ways that we can impact our customer base. So this is just another one that came along, and we were lucky enough to win and get an award. So, we've had a lot of success so far.
Yeah. So climate smart agriculture, what is the definition internally for you guys? What is the goals?
Yeah, so climate smart agriculture, I think, that's even a larger, discussion with farmers all around, depending on the commodity you talk with and who you're talking to and what organizations are working in it. And even if you look at, what the USDA said and how they view climate smart agriculture, I think it's a list of definitely over 100. I think it might be even over 200, actual agricultural practices now. But essentially how we view it is any practice that, meets an NRCS standard for cover crops or reduced tillage or no-till that ultimately contributes to a lower carbon emissions than a conventional practice. So, that's kind of how we view it. But at the end of the day, yeah, we're following the rule of, kind of what stipulates the cover crops from the NRCS standards when it comes to, planting rates and dates and species. And same idea with the nature management plan. They have to meet 590 standards. So, ultimately we're following these NRCS rules and I think there's a lot of different, definitions out there for climate smart agriculture, but essentially it's about, I think at the end of the day, doing more with your land with, ultimately less machinery and things like that.
Are you primarily working with conventional growers at this point, or is it organic and conventional?
Yeah, so our program, we have every type of grower in our program. We definitely have the, organic, we have the non-GMO grower, we have the food grade grower, and we have the conventional. And that, kind of, a lot of my job, right, is talking about what's the value add, what's the benefits of a conventional grower, doing these practices for the first time. But at the same time, it's nice to talk to some of the growers that have been doing these practices for a long time. And really, those are the easiest people that, you don't have to sway too much, but, or, talk about the benefits too. But it's been really exciting for us to see some of these, growers out there that have never done cover crops or have been doing conventional tillage for, how long. And they're saying, you know what, this might be the time for me to go ahead and start doing that, start doing a reduced tillage or a no-till, just because there's so many opportunities out there. Maybe it's financially right now with per acre incentives, but there's new markets being made, thinking about things like 45V and how that's related to climate smart agriculture. I mean, there's so many things out there that, really what these growers are doing in these practices are really, putting them, their best foot forward and thinking about how they're going to be successful in the future.
So, what are the commodity crops that you guys are generally working with? And then give an example. I know you're working with corn and soy. Give an example of the proposed practices that you're funding, and then what that looks like from the farmer's perspective. So how much per acre they're getting funding for those different commodities.
Sure. Yeah. So, yeah, we're doing, cover crops. We're doing reduced to no-till, nutrient management plans, and windbreaks. And essentially each practice has a different per acre incentive, essentially just due to the cost of implementing that practice. So for instance, cover crops are coming in our program for $55 an acre. Reduced to no-till is coming in at $15 an acre. Nutrient management plans are at 19, and windbreaks are at $20 an acre. And the nice thing about it is those practices are stackable. I think 83% of our growers are doing, I think it's even 86% this year, which is great, but 86% of our growers are doing 2 or more practices, which is awesome. It's just seeing farmers being able to take advantage of the practices and take advantage of the incentives that go with it. And, as far as, cover crops, at the $55 an acre, we found that to be successful. We're in our second year now of the program, and we've seen from year 1 to year 2, a 12% increase of cover crop acres, which is great. That's a lot of people, one, that were doing cover crop acres, increase their acreage, and new people, taking those cover crops on as well. So, and I think we're in 94% or 95% of our growers are doing reduced till and no-till. So we've been able to identify a lot of customers and a lot of the Dolan company, but also growers that are just really engaged with these practices, really interested to hear, why they should be doing them. We've been really successful on, essentially enrolling them and doling out those incentives. The process for them is essentially they're going to, essentially do a one-page application through our website. They can reach out to us as well, and we're able to provide, paper copies, but it's the one-page application at the very beginning. It probably takes at most 45 seconds to a minute. They're going to say, hey, this is my name. These are the practices and the amount of acres I want to do. And then throughout the year, depending on the practice, there's different steps within that process that they're doing what we call the proof of practice stage, where they're sending us essentially proof that they're doing these practices. So thinking about cover crops, like they're going to send us their cover crop seed or a copy of their invoice. They're going to send us pictures once they get it seeded and planted. So we do have a lot of steps in between, but we're doing our best to make it as streamlined as possible and thinking about how we can position ourselves a really program that's worthwhile to grows, and thinking about, should I do this program? Should I do EQIP? Should I do RCPP? Should I do CSP, CRP? All the different programs out there. Like you mentioned, there's so many out there now. Really it's kind of going through the weeds and figuring out what works best for the grower. But we've seen our programs, be successful for many growers now. So, I think in total we're over 200 growers, a little over 360,000 acres throughout 8 or 9 states now, and primarily Wisconsin, Illinois, but it's just been, taken off in year 2 now. And we're getting you ready for year 3 as well. So we'll start, enrollment in early 2025.
So let's say I'm a corn farmer and you would recommend putting a certain cover crop, either most likely following that crop. What type of cover crop blends are you recommending? And then do you guys provide any sort of market avenue or market for the cover crops?
Yeah. So, we really leave it up to the grower and what they think is best. And that's kind of when, if they come to us and ask, hey, what do you suggest or what do you think? A lot of times I think the vast majority of our growers that are doing cover crops are doing, cereal rye, but this year I've been hearing a lot of oats as well. So that's been interesting just to see, from year 1, I barely heard any oats, last year, I guess 2023, 2024, it just seemed like so many, growers were taking on oats, which is interesting, but still for the most part, cereal rye. A lot of times what we refer people to is the Midwest cover crop tool. That tool is actually a really nice tool where you can say, hey, this is what I'm focused on, whether it's, soil and root density, whether it's an erosion fighter, weed control. There's a lot of things through that tool that, essentially a grower is able to use. And it's a free website. So that's kind of how we talk to people about, what they're looking for, because everybody's land's different. Starting out, I think a lot of people, we thought, okay, people in the same geographic region or same, town or two in Wisconsin or Illinois are going to have the same thoughts on what works and what doesn't. But we quickly found out that, even neighbors down the road. There's different types out there, and something might work for someone down the road that it doesn't for their neighbors. So we always kind of leave it up to them. But as far as the avenues on where to find or source that cover crop seed or species, the Dolan Company does have resources and team members that they can talk to go out and buy that, or kind of connect the dots on it. We don't require growers in our program to purchase directly from the Dolan Company. That's a stipulation of it. But if they are interested, we do have plenty of people that can talk to them about it. And same idea with that nutrient management plan as well.
So does your education, I guess, give the growers some information about where they could possibly, like cereal rye, for example, is there markets that you have available to you that helps growers sell that product?
Yep. Yeah. So we definitely do share, where growers are able to go and get that. It always varies just based on the geographic location. And what we found really successful is having these grower meetings where we bring, a good group of our growers there in the program and talking about best ways to utilize this. We've had multiple people up there, in the same area, same town, kind of go in on a group buy or group share of buying cover crops at a lower price just due to the bulk and splitting it up. So there's been different ways that growers are, kind of figuring this out and getting creative with it to make, get the best bang for their buck.
Yeah. Do you are you seeing growers at all integrate livestock with those cover crops?
Yeah, there's a few. Yeah, we do have a few that are doing that. I can't say that I work with or we have a lot, but we do have some few that are doing it. But I definitely know, that's definitely an option out there, especially thinking about, how to maximize, your farm and your land. I know that's definitely an option. As foraging.
Yeah. Oh, when we're talking about windbreaks, and you said there's about a $20 an acre fund there, what does that consist of? So are you helping fund the trees that are planted, and do you know what type of species you're recommending?
Yeah, so the windbreaks are really interesting. I will say they're tough. It's tough to get a lot of growers to go out and plant trees. But that's why our practice is for windbreak establishment or renovation. And really what that means is going out and planting trees or planting, essentially new windbreaks, or, the renovation part of it is going out there and clearing out competing species, things like that, clearing out brush. As far as species of actual trees and everything, I'm not sure. But for the most part, growers that we've seen are doing that renovation part of it where they have established, windbreaks, and they're going on clearing brush out.
Yeah. How long does this program last? Like, how long do you have funding? And
Yeah, so the program, again, it's a 5-year program. At the beginning of 2025, we're going to be starting year 3. So far, in year 1, the program was 170 growers, 235,000 acres, and a little over $6.3 million of direct incentives to growers. Year 2, 2024, we enrolled another additional 30 growers into our program, and we're going to be doing just over $10.3 million with direct incentives to growers, over 360,000 acres, which is great. So we're really excited to see, the jump from year 1 to 2, in that momentum that we have with our program now, into year 3 in 2025 now. So we'll have 25 and 26 and ultimately 27 as well. So it's going to be that 5-year program. And again, yeah, we're really excited about the momentum of ours and just the momentum of climate smart agriculture in general. I mean, if you're thinking about, again, we're one of 141, awardees. So in just Wisconsin alone, I think there's 29 projects. I think there's, essentially over $1 billion of federal funding through climate smart agriculture. Maybe it's not just what we're doing. It doesn't necessarily have to be corn or wheat or, soybeans. I know there's different programs out there for alfalfa, for barley, for beef. So, not only us, but we're really excited about the momentum of climate smart agriculture itself as well.
What type of metrics are you using? So you've done it now for 2 full years. What are some of the data points that you guys are seeing as far as folks' land improving from the use of these cover crops?
Yeah, that's the interesting part, is that we're kind of just now getting into the zone where, you know, we verified these practices with people that, are starting them anew. But there are plenty of people that, have been doing these practices over a long time. So now we're really getting into that soil testing and seeing data come back from that. Um, at the end of the day, I think, people are expecting, to make, ultimately to leave their land in a better place than they found it, right? Or when they got it. And thinking about cover crops, thinking about reduced tillage or doing a no-till, and, ultimately that's going to enhance your soil and their ground. And we're really excited, throughout time. I think, year 3 and 4 are going to be really, pivotal times for us to see all this data come through. And we all, I know, talking to growers all the time, we all wish we could see it quicker than, ultimately when it comes through. And by the time we see that difference, but we're really encouraged by it. We're really encouraged by, for instance, even, we have a partnership with a distillery, right? And this, how it all kind of relates is the distillery is purchasing climate smart grain. And after talking with them and talking with the owners of the distillery, they say, we can notice the higher quality of this grain. We can notice that, it's just a better quality. It smells better. It looks better. And that's really encouraging to see. So, and hear. So, we're excited to see here in year 3 and 4 and 5, really to get a lot of feedback from our growers and start, getting some hard data on it.
Yeah. What is there anything else that growers should know about, or areas they should head to find out more information about this grant?
Yes. Yeah. So I would say, specific to ours, again, it's called Grown Climate Smart. If they Google search that, they'll find our website or go to grownclimatesmart.com. Overall, though, I would say just looking up USDA Climate Smart Commodities, there's a whole dashboard that the USDA put together regarding this. And again, it's not just ours, it's 140 of other projects, all related to different things, all different companies, organizations, watershed groups, farmer-led groups. So there's a lot of opportunities out there. So if it's not, ours specifically that fits with them or might work for them, we hope that there is one out there that, ultimately they can take advantage of, because again, we're all kind of working towards the same thing here and to push this forward. So, or if there's any questions on the program or anything like that, we definitely encourage people to reach out to us, give us a call, send us an email. It's all on our website.
Awesome. All right, Dylan, anything else you would like to mention or note to people?
No, I think that's about it. I mean, again, we're really excited about it. We're really excited to, continue working with more and more growers, ultimately working with CPG companies to expand the market for climate smart commodities. And ultimately, the goal here is for consumers to see products on the shelves that, stem from these practices, and to develop a market that ultimately one day commands a premium. So we're really excited about it. And I look forward to, year 3 here.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us. Thanks for sharing about this opportunity for growers, and looking forward to seeing if you guys can add some more acreage to it.
Yeah. Thank you, Taylor. Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot. Thank you for listening to the Acres USA podcast, a podcast production of Acres USA. Find us on Spotify, Apple, Google Play, and other popular podcast platforms. Acres USA is North America's oldest publisher on production-scale organic and regenerative farming. For more than 50 years, our mission has been to help farmers, ranchers, and market gardeners grow food profitably, regeneratively, and with nature in mind. Find our books and other Acres USA media and learn about Acres USA events at acresusa.com. Read our online magazine at members.acresusa.com, and we'd like to thank Acres USA staff for their contributions to producing this podcast. This episode was edited and engineered by Weston Larson of Acres USA. We're grateful to our guests for taking the time to talk with us about their experiences.